Yeah, once the team is running against Chris Saunders, they don't have it on them. Yeah. Right.
Amazing. I think it absolutely is, and you can do without the sprinkles, but you can't. You can do without the sprinkles, but you don't want to do without the Sunday. Focus on what's really important. I think that really is the name of the game. And being healthy and happy and taking care of people that you love is paramount. Today is an exciting day. It was nominated day, and all of those who thought that's for those that knew what they knew that didn't know nothing. Okay. And I'm excited to find out all the news that's happened as well this afternoon. Welcome again to the show. This is Catherine Tyson, your host, and this is Straight Talk Drive at 5. And of course, you can call us at 943. 700 to joining us this afternoon that they brought from Health City, Shamari Scott.
Definitely, and I just want to say that my first question to you is like, I see that you're still here. 3 o'clock came and went, and based on all of the news I was hearing, your name was supposed to be there, but we're very pleased that you'll be here with us. For as long as you would like, obviously hosting this show and doing all the other great things that you do.
Of course, and there were some people that were a little sad that I'm still in the studio, but you do what you got to do, and it was one of those things. I had one foot going towards that direction and one foot going to my kids. Were like, "Get your foot out of there!"
Put it back.
Yeah, I've grown up kids,
and they're old enough now that they can have that.
Trust me, all roads led to my house. The last couple of weeks, the stare down. We're gonna support you in whatever you want to do, mommy, go live your life. Can you go be happy, please, and stop strapping people's problems on your back? It was that kind of conversation. I'm like, but it's the country's problem that is just too big a problem. So we figured that we just, we'd watch all the stuff happening, and I do what I've always been doing for the last 25 years of my life, which is saving the world one person at a time. I won't stop that.
Right. And that's something to do is at the center of everything we do, and that's why we as Health City exist and are more or less achieving the goals of our founder, Dr. Debbie Shetty, and what he truly believes in, being the remarkable man that he is. Now, February would have been hard month, and we were supposed to be on last week, and we had to cancel that morning just based on some urgent items that cropped up. But true to form, Dr. Benoit and Dr. Dodd is here, and we'll tell you about Dr. Dodd's shortly. Yes, he isn't performing any heart surgeries in the short term.
Absolutely not.
But Dr. Benoit actually is the leader at Health City Cayman Islands, as well as the chief cardiothoracic surgeon. He's the only cardiothoracic surgeon that we have. He just kicks me under the table, but he can't reach me because he's a little bit far now. I'm very privileged to have him here with us in the Cayman Islands. And Dr. Debbie Shetty himself, a lot of times, will send me voice notes saying, and this was from as far back as 5-6 years ago, Shamari, do you know what Dr. Benoit just did? He's not going to tell you, but this is the surgery he just did. This is how unique it is. Only 5% of surgeons in the world can do it. And with the equipment and staff that he has, only 2% of facilities in the US would also be able to do this level of surgery. And he would give me voice notes like that. That's a lot of times how we figured out exactly what we're doing, how unique it is. And the fact that we, a population then of 65,000 people, have the privilege of a Dr. Benoit being here based on the model of Health City.
Right.
No country in the world that is served with just the locally. And that's why, from a medical tourism perspective, that gives us the benefit of having a doctor tons of cars throughout the whole scope of services within Health City. When you have a heart attack, that if it reaches the level where you need a cardiothoracic surgeon, and Dr. Benoit talks about slashing chests, right? To run in, and when he gets excited, you have to slash the chest, open it up to be able to actually what he does to save a life.
Streaming, you can't see Shamari. I'm very sorry about that. But I just have three, really big guys in the studio right now, so they can't.
And we didn't
Somebody had to make
we
the
didn't want
cut.
to get that close to each other.
No, you refused to.
We're good. We can,
We were talking about girls and guys. I'm like, girls would have been like,
I can even take off my jacket because
Yeah.
nobody can see.
Someone had to make the cut, and Shamari, you elected
I'm
to do
good,
that.
that's right.
Okay, great.
And with us as well, we have Dr. Dodds in the studio, and he is a doctor of music.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
So he's
Just play one on the radio.
Yeah. Well, if the voice sounds familiar, it's because you're used to hearing this voice on that other station.
Yeah.
And it's Dr. Doug, isn't
Yeah,
it?
right,
Yeah,
right, yes.
exactly. So as soon as you walk in, I was like, Dr. Doug.
I know. I sure recognize you. And wait, you're
Absolutely.
Caitlin's mom.
That's right. That's who I am.
Can we say that on the radio?
That
You're
is
Caitlin's mom? I thought
trust
that was like
me.
your second title.
Proudly.
Okay,
That is
good. I love
actually, I'm David, Richard, and Kate. Oh yeah, we don't exist. So it's like that,
Yeah.
But absolutely, yes. And welcome to the show.
Thank you.
I know you have a great story as well. Just joining Dr. Benoit as well as Shamar. Shamar, do you want to set it up for us?
No, I mean, there doesn't even need to be a setup just because Dr. Doug does such a great job talking about his experience with Dr. Benoit.
Okay.
And we were privileged to have Dr. Doug come after the procedure.
Okay.
And he's also, doing his part, ensuring that people know and understand the signs. And
Perfect.
if you have or think you have a heart issue, making sure they come to Health City so we can help them.
Do it all the time. But as we talked a little bit about, like the last couple of times I've talked about this, me sharing my story, I'm not necessarily 100% proud of it because I'm probably a cautionary tale of something that you should do.
Right.
Men, especially, we
Right.
talked about this before, where unless it's falling off, and I think Shamar was the one that said this, we're not going to the doctor.
We're good.
Yeah, we're good. We're good.
You just glue that on.
Sadly, you can't do that with you need it, and that's one of the reasons I think we're talking about this too during Heart Health Month. Is it's important to not follow what I did in this particular case because ultimately, as Dr. Benoit will share with my particular situation, if I was even just a little bit long. Looking at it, you're thinking, all right, I'll be okay. And I'm a procrastinator by nature. I procrastinate in a lot of different things, and I'm guilty as charged with that all my life, whether it be, tests in college.
First on the list, then nothing else really matters. Because when you do drop down, as we say, well, how's all the other stuff going to help you?
Right.
You know? So tell us a little bit about what it is that kind of happened to you.
Sure.
Yeah.
And I'm excited too. And I'm going to, if it's okay, Dr. Benoit, I'm going to kind of have you refresh my memory a little bit too as we kind of look closer. One of the things when people like
Dr. Doug, just do what you do.
If you're moving,
okay, just do what you do. I'll just be sitting here,
it's okay,
looking pretty.
That's awesome. Thank you, by the way.
Okay.
As you go to, as people know, to get a work permit here in the Cayman Islands, there's a variety of things that are required that you need to be able to provide. One of them is a heart scan, etc., and full physical and all this. I was really looking forward to moving to the Cayman Islands. This is 4 or 5 years ago, and I was excited and doing that, or I can't remember the exact wording he used with regards to your heart. And it's nothing major, but I am concerned that before I sign your permit and do this, I need to be able to know, but we need to figure this out. I said, I don't have that amount of time. I'm supposed to rush
times just even the diagnosis of what you specifically have. If you don't have all the physicians here locally to be able to diagnose at that level, sometimes things may be missed just based on the fact that you don't have the expertise here on island. And Dr. Benoit will be able to even expound further, but having a multidisciplinary type of team as well, even outside of cardiac, we always figure out what's wrong, right? So even if you think it's chest pains, you come in and we do all of the scans and there's nothing wrong with your heart, we still know there's something wrong. And by having a neurologist, interventional neurologist, having a neurosurgeon, having a urologist, we always make sure we go through the different modalities to figure out what exactly is wrong. And we've heard patients as well that have told us that, they came to us and until we found out what was wrong, we wouldn't let that patient just go about their lives saying,
Right.
okay, we haven't found the issue and you're fine.
Right.
And that type of approach can only happen when you have all of the different modalities under one roof, different professionals that all collaborate, once again, with the patient at the center. So I'll let Dr. Benoit speak about that as well.
Yeah, actually, I would like to say that because Dr. Doug is here,
Yeah.
nobody should go through that stage actually, because he was the end of that spectrum of the disease. It is very critically narrowed valve, and he was walking around with a high risk of dying any time. So there's no need to be like that. See, that's what this World Heart Month should say. Actually, see, there are every modalities that is available in the diagnosis of heart disease we have on this little island. And anybody can, I mean, there are some criteria that when you do go for this diagnostic test or this screening test, so that if something is there, we can pick it very early and we can act on that. So that's the whole purpose of this make awareness on Heart Day or what is going on inside the public and going on inside. So there are one I'll tell you one day during this screening test. I mean, now it's happening in health city on a big way about executive health checkup. You won't believe that 4 cancers we found out in one day. Wow. This test 4 cancers.
Yeah.
In one day. So if we miss that proof, the public should have that don't wait for the symptoms to develop, or if there is some symptoms, just go for it and find out what you to do. Don't ignore it. Like
Right.
Right.
Doctor, there's the had a quick question. If there's a to Kev's show right now, people are listening right now, and men, especially men, what age is there a certain you recommend after what? Having a routine test.
Right. Yeah.
And yeah, this is what I mean. All these listeners, I want to say now we have all the modalities of investigations we have at LCT, and you should have that attitude actually. Okay, I don't want to miss any. I don't want to have some disease growing up inside my body. I don't want to find out the last moment when the
Right.
treatment is different, outcome is different. So I don't want to wait for that. Please come forward. That is and this is not just a Dr. Benoit, this is the American Heart Association suggests after all these trials and studies and researches. So this is this World Heart Month, I would say.
Right.
And plus, see, now we are all, everybody is aware about this coronavirus, the pandemic. Everybody knows everything about that. See, I'm not underestimating the efforts that is going around or what is the importance or anything. But see, till now, so it's a year now actually. About this coronavirus, and the 2.5 million people died all over the world. Every year, nearly 18 million people are dying of this cardiovascular.
9 times the amount.
saying that.
Wow.
That really, I mean, I think those conversations need to continue to be had because these are very significant.
10 times the
Yeah,
amount of people.
absolutely,
Oh,
absolutely.
wow.
So attention could be paid to that as well because it absolutely is correct, you know. And as you were speaking, both of you, Dr. Benoit and Dr. Doug,
Yeah.
Dr. Doug, okay? I don't want to confuse the doctor here. I was thinking, okay, when you had mentioned Doug, that you had, you know, you did the whole immigration,
You're right.
the testing, and that part of it wasn't done. So
Yeah.
you were not aware was wrong. And
Because I was hoping to be here in the Cayman Islands in 2 weeks
okay,
and turn things around. And
okay.
I said, if I promise you, I'll do it the minute I land there in the Cayman Islands.
Mhm.
And so looking back, I was dishonest with him, and I put my hand up and on it, and
Yeah.
that could have honestly could have cost me.
So that doctor actually saw something.
He heard something. I
Told some murmur when hospital did this
Okay.
murmur is the word, yeah. So
Okay.
he just says, because he spent a lot of time, you know, like you can tell when a doctor, a lot of times when they do a physical, if they listen to your heart, they're gonna listen for a little bit and then move on.
Right.
This guy spent a lot of time listening.
Yeah.
To my heart. I knew something was up when when I said everything okay, and he's like, oh, don't say anything. And so
Okay.
I knew
Okay.
something wasn't right. So
All
he heard something, and so he just refused to sign off on my paperwork. As I have done in my life, I've been able to talk my way into certain things,
Right.
and I did that with him.
Right.
Fortunately, because I was able to come to the Cayman Islands, but unfortunately, literally could have cost me my life if I would have, you know, if it would have been a lot worse or further down the line, I probably wouldn't have, you know, it probably would have ended badly.
Yeah. And so, and how long did it take you to start that feeling bad then?
About a year and a half.
Okay.
So, you know, I arrived in summer of 2016, and by 2018, I started it probably about 2 years. So I started feeling.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
Okay.
and and this was in the summertime of 2018, and then the fall and around the holidays of 2018 is when I got with these guys, and then on January of 2019, I had my surgery. So
Okay.
it was just a lot of procrastinating, a lot of putting things off, and I think that if it was a loved one of mine, I would. I don't know, how do I say this nicely? I would, you know, I'd grab them by the neck and say, "Get in there,"
Right.
because you know.
Yeah.
You don't want to hear like someone that you love or care for passes away because they're stupid and they procrastinate
Right.
because they're selfish or they think their work's more important than anything. Or,
Right.
you know how it
Because it's something that they do.
right.
Yeah.
Right.
I always say
And
that.
and it could have been fixable.
Yeah,
Does
I
that make
always say
sense?
that. I mean, yeah, you could get hit by a truck. People say that. Oh,
Right.
I could just get hit by a truck. It's true. However, you know, and that happens and that happens. But if it's something that you can prevent or something that you can do, let's not talk about I could be hit by a truck.
Yes,
That's
ma'am, I
a
agree
very
with that.
random, you know, kind of thing happening. So absolutely. We will take a break in a few seconds, and but we will come back. We'd like to continue the conversation. You are listening to Health City. This is Medical Mondays. It is brought to you by Health City, and you're listening to Witness Officer Dr. Benoit, who's the Clinical Director, Chief Cardiac Surgeon. Cardiac doctor, cardio. He's past patient of Health City, underwent cardiac surgery with Dr. Benoit in early 2019, and having a successful procedure and quick recovery. And just talking about some of the things, the benefits things per se, and testing and all that good stuff. So stay tuned. This is Catherine Tyson, your host of Straight Talk Private Live. We'll be back with more. Stay tuned.
927.
Cayman National new sniper that loves flexibility or
Made from plants. Brand new online and only at Burger King. 7 Mile Beach Water.
Straight Talk. This is your Drive at 5 show, and this is brought to you by Health City. It's Medical Mondays, and every Monday, Health City comes all the way from the east. The wise men come from the east.
That's right.
And they bring tidings of
and look at this gift.
I know, right?
All sorts of
So,
things.
to Doug.
Yeah, gift you can return.
Good stories and just stories of hope, obviously.
Yeah.
And it just sounds like good tidings to me. But we're joined in the studio with Shamari Scott, Chief Business Officer. I haven't seen you in a while. Happy New Year.
Wait, no, I've seen you.
No, I don't think so.
That's
I
right.
I don't believe I've seen you this year.
That's true. So you had the pleasure of seeing Tiffany.
Absolutely.
You see?
Yeah.
It's awesome.
Thank you so much.
Even though we're in March.
Don't worry. It's
Okay.
good. It's the first day though, right?
That's right.
Yeah. That's better late than never.
There we go.
We can always start over too. That's the thing about it, right? So if it's not going right, and I tell the listeners, if it's not going right, you can get it right.
That's right.
So don't worry that, oh no, I'm off of my resolution. Forget that. Get back on. It's okay.
right.
And we're also talking to Dr. Benoit, who is the clinical director, chief cardiac surgeon, all the stuff that Shamari sends ahead for me to get tongue-tied.
You did a good job with it.
Senior cardiothoracic and vascular surgeon.
Yes.
Impressive.
The night is young. Give me some time. And of course, and that's the voice of Dr. Doug, who's not a real medical doctor, but he's actually here in the capacity of being a past patient of Health City. Underwent cardiac surgery with Dr. Benoit in early 2019, had a successful procedure, quick recovery, and within a few hours after surgery, he was extubated, and 2 days after, he was transferred out of the ICU into the ward.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And if you've just tuned in, he was actually talking about his experience and cautionary tale, basically, saying, don't do what I did. But thank goodness for the Health City people and Dr. Benoit.
Save my life. And, I talked about there's someone online. He's the Michael Jordan of heart surgeons.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And I proudly share that when I share on social media. Here's ladies and gentlemen, the Michael Jordan of health surgeons, or the Michael Jordan of heart surgeons.
Yeah.
Is Dr. Benoit, and we're blessed to have him here. I mean, that's Shamari said it best. For an island this size, it's I could see. It's just amazing, and like I said, it's a blessing, a total answer to a prayer, and just the entire staff and the people out there in Health City. We're just, like I said, I can't keep talking for Health, a great service, and to let you know what you're. Onto system, they need it, and they're just fabulous out there.
Yeah, no, absolutely, and I think you're absolutely right that we have that in Cayman. I think that's state of the art situation. It's amazing because we had other guests before talking about, they were from Boston, and they were just giving their story about how difficult some of these things would have been had they been in Boston.
Oh.
How expensive it would have been had they been in Boston, how they'd have to battle back and forth with their insurance had they been in the state. So it's really, good to kind of put it in perspective exactly what it means, what we have on island in the form of Health City. So yeah, definitely.
And even just to mention a doctor that's from the Massachusetts area as well, who was a former patient, Dr. Leon Joseph. He even gave us a testimonial. He was saying, I'm a vascular surgeon as my day job, right? And he's also, at that point in time, he was in charge of one of the top medical facilities in the Northeast. And he said, surgery and his recovery is as good. No, he said, is better. A top physician from the US saying it. But when somebody like that actually states it, then people believe and understand. But we always knew, and that's why you're mentioning when we're on the break, the surgeon's cut with Netflix. Dr. Shetty always brings the best of Dr. Benoit and build out and built that team to the point where we're able to cover almost every modality. And during people would have had some issues with that
Right.
based on travel, but you would have heard a recent announcement. So within 9 months to a year, we will have the full radiotherapy unit here, state of the art. Not I can speak about that as well. And that means that most people may have to leave Ireland for some items, maybe if you needed to have a transplant. However, based on the regs that will be hopefully passed shortly and come into play, even that's something that eventually we'll be able to cover, and you will never have to leave the Cayman Islands for anything again.
There you go.
Yeah.
I think what I like about those stories mainly, the reason is because, you still hear people asking you questions like, "You're from the Cayman Islands? Do they have, what kind of television do you guys have there?"
Right.
And I'm like, "What?
Do you have running water?
Where have you been?
Yeah.
Where have you been? Where do you live?"
Yeah.
So I love that, because I think people are really under the impression that still kind of huts around the beach. Like, listen, there's no such thing, really. And so it's just really good to know that we do have, the facilities, but we also have the talent, right? Because I think, like, when you have, people of that caliber on the team that can, do whatever it is that you need, and you don't have to travel abroad, or people can actually come here for treatment. That's another thing that's really important. So, Dr. Benoit, let's talk a little bit about maybe some things that I guess people can do to not find themselves in the position that Doug found himself in. Like what type of testing, or just different things that, just I feel fine, but in actuality, what do we do instead of just walking around saying we feel fine?
Yeah, I will talk those in two aspects actually. One is the prevention and one is prevention, other one is screening and to diagnose.
Right.
So most of these problems now in the heart disease or cardiovascular disease is lifestyle related.
Okay.
When I say the lifestyle diseases, not all the heart related problems we can avoid or stop, but many of them actually, like it's the risk factors, whether it's obesity, smoking, this diabetes, all those things we can control to some extent by our change of lifestyle. So that's what this day I would like to talk to these listeners.
Okay.
See, just change your lifestyle and get a good healthy heart. See, when you stop smoking, if you have diabetes or if you have high blood pressure, just control it very well by going regular to the meeting doctors and getting it tested. It's obvious again, your dietary style you have to change, and the physical activity, the most important thing. I always tell, at least 4 days in a week, spend 40-45 minutes for you. It is not possible, however, whatever busy or the profession you have some 40 minutes in a day for 4 days, in 4 days in a week.
Okay.
So if you change this lifestyle, definitely many of these heart related problems you can avoid or maybe delay.
Okay. So
Develop.
exercise, basically, you're saying.
The food habits, dietary habits, and exercise.
Okay.
And if you are any of these other things, you cannot avoid diabetes if it runs in your family. If you cannot avoid high blood pressure if that runs in your family. So, but at least you can control that by
Right.
regular testing and regular meeting the doctors and taking the the medicines regularly.
Right.
That will help. And if you're obese, now you know that 1/3 of the world population is obese now. So that we can definitely reduce. And it's not only the heart, it's other organs are affected by this obesity.
Right.
The treatment we can have. So that is one part. The second part is detection or screening and find out what is inside your heart. Whether you have any coronary artery disease, whether your valves are good, or even at this adults, you can miss some holes in the heart also.
Right.
So after 40 years of age, you go for regular checkup and find out how strong your heart. Is there any plaques developing in your coronary arteries?
Okay.
So, and we have the what you call that instruments or machines or modalities that is available in the world. We have in our small island here to find out.
Right.
Only thing is we need that motivation from the public. I won't say
Okay.
patients, the
Okay.
public actually that come forward and get it done. And you see, I mean, hopefully you should not have any of these problems, but then you know that you don't have any problem.
Okay.
You are peaceful and you know that. But if you find out something there, you have the facilities to treat, and you can without having any complications. Or sometimes if you find it late, by the time some of the damages are already done to the heart muscles. So even after the treatment, you may not get that great outcome. Otherwise, you would have got if you
Right.
treated at the right time. That means in the early diagnosis.
Okay.
So that's what I want to talk to the listeners today.
So what is like a basic test? Because I know we talk about the executive health checks, the comprehensive executive health checks, and I know and I actually went last year and did that, which it was a great experience, and everybody just doing, like you said, Doug, just amazing team, everything seamless, but they do the thing where they hook you up to whatever, a couple of tests. Do those detect some things that they require further testing to find out all the things you were talking about? So
Yeah,
something like that.
it's a systematic way of doing. I mean, first asking the person about the history or any symptoms, then doing the vitals, just basic actually, looking at the heart rate, looking at the blood pressure, how the oxygen level, then the other basic investigative modalities like ECG, echocardiogram, maybe treadmill, and
Okay.
if further is required actually the CT calcium scoring or maybe CT angiogram.
Okay.
So all those things will tell you finally together with your symptoms analysis of the symptoms, your blood pressure, your sugar, blood test, cholesterol, and the ECG, echo, everything together will tell you how strong is your heart,
Okay.
how healthy is your
Okay.
heart.
Okay.
And if you find out something, then definitely some other test will have to be like maybe you'll have to go through an angiogram, maybe a MRI for the
Okay.
cardiac MRI.
Right.
So depends on if you find out. Otherwise, this other test will tell you definitely how healthy your heart is.
Okay. All right. So once again, we can promote the executive health checks and the comprehensive health checks to go and get that done. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Okay. And so I guess with things like that, you would then suggest anyone over 40, definitely male, but
Definitely
anyone over 40,
Yeah.
40, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyone above 40, and there are different. If it is a woman, then it's a different package because they have to see look into the cervical cancer or the breast cancer. That screening is different. So it depends on it's a according to the gender. There is
Okay.
a different tests are involved, and there
Right.
is tumor markers are there. So all those things. It's a package.
Right. But it's over
And-
40 for anyone.
Yeah, and just to mention that we as men, and as Doug mentioned previously, we wait till something's falling off, and the female in our life to force us to go to the hospital. However, interestingly enough, if females, they also, I guess, from a young age, are used to regular checkups, so they kind of do that anyway. But what we are also finding is some of the leading reasons for female deaths also are due to heart disease, and we think it's just men. But women as well are so used to at times taking care of everybody else
Yeah.
that at times they don't take that regular full executive checkup.
Right.
which they may, obviously when you go to your gynecologist, there's a certain, area that you're dealing with,
Right.
and not the full head to toe checkup. So sometimes they have other issues that
Right.
may go undetected that they're unaware of. So everybody should actually, come for an executive health checkup, and we've seen a lot of people taking advantage of it over the past 2 years, especially.
Okay.
So it's good, and we're catching a lot of diseases
Yeah.
and
Treating at the right
issues,
time.
as well as you're able to help from a nutrition standpoint, because that's a part of the executive health checkup, to make sure that people are on the right track and don't actually march down the wrong
Right.
roads
Okay.
in the future.
And that should probably be something that you do once a year or something. Like it just, you know what I mean? Like you've done it, and then sometimes you just forget. It's weird, right? Because you'll be like, well, I did that, and then you'll think, oh, that's 3 years ago.
Yeah.
So when would you suggest like checking that? Because these things can kind of come up and you don't know. So unless you're doing the work permit stuff or whatever, like for a job, generally we're just busy. We're very busy people. So when would you suggest that people do that?
All depends on what you find in the
Okay.
first checkup. So if there is something necessary, like that plaques or something there's early blocks in the heart pipes, or any rhythm abnormality, or in the colonoscopy you find some polyps or something. So if nothing is there, maybe the colonoscopy I'm telling you about,
Okay.
that alone.
Okay.
Or if sometimes something you find, and if you have family history, maybe once in 2 years we'll have to do. So
Okay.
it all depends on
the
what you
different
find.
tests. Okay.
What you find. Subsequently,
okay.
we can tell 2 years, 5 years, or
All right. Because I have to go back and follow up this cholesterol thing. I mean, I have completely changed everything, like what I eat. It's something. It is
Right,
something.
right.
But you care enough about yourself, and you care about the people that you love. You want to make sure that unless you get hit by a truck, you can kind of say that I'm doing the right things, and I'm going to be around as long as I can, if it has anything to do with me, right? And I think that's what's responsible, right? That we should do.
Right.
So
Very much so. And I'm sure there, just in the power of numbers, I'm sure there's people listening right now in traffic that behind their crazy job and their schedule, and all the things happening in their family, or this or that, or parts to my heart. And boy, it's nothing to really play games with. And and sharing my story, it was something that could have ultimately, it could have cost me a life, me procrastinating like that. And I just would hate to hear somebody, especially someone I'm close to, or someone that's family or friends, I would be upset if they did that. I know if it was in reverse, and a family member had heard that, I'd be mad at me.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for sharing your story, for sure, though. These are private matter. It could be just between you and your friends and your family. But for you to publicly share that, I think it's really just admirable that you're able to come out and say, you know what? Yeah, I kind of did some silly stuff.
I got to give credit where credit's due. So that's all
Yeah.
Health City there, to be honest with you. And that's
Yeah.
I will shout from the mountaintops about Health City, and just how they've saved my life, but B, how they've treated me and my family. I mean,
Right.
and my parents came and for the surgery, and they came to support, and the Health City staff was incredible. The family that was there visiting from the States, and just amazing. So all
Right.
around, I put it on them as far as my eagerness to want to share my story or whatever. It's not me selfishly saying, look what happened to me.
Yeah.
Honestly, get asked to speak. They've left such a mark on my life, as far as with their service, and and not only what they've done to me, health wise, but also just and how they've treated me and my family.
Yeah, for sure. And Shamari, I want to get back really quick on Surgeon's Cut. I think
Yes.
it deserves some more airtime, right?
Yes.
And you had come last year, and we were trying to show, have the listeners and the streaming people watch it, but we had some type of difficulty or something
Correct.
going on that day. But I did get a chance to see it, and I've been wanting to talk to you. That's why I know I didn't see you this year
Because
yet,
you wanted to talk about
because it was one of the things that I actually, searched for on Netflix
Yes.
and found it, because I'm a Netflix buff,
Yes.
buff.
Yes.
So let me tell you, that was such an amazing story. And I've seen a couple of them. I haven't seen all of them. I think I saw 3 of them, but I definitely went to see Dr. Shetty's story,
Yes.
and it is incredible. And I'm telling you, listeners, go to check it out on Netflix. Just look it up, Surgeon's Cut, and it just felt so kind of surreal for me to be watching this thing unfold about this human that has came to Cayman, and put a hospital here, and the heart of this person, like literally, no pun intended, right? Like the heart of this man, to really, the work that he's done over the years. It was amazing. I laughed, and it shows his wife, and it shows his children, it shows his private life, and it showed him as a young, arrogant doctor, as he would call it, and just like who he was. I think it's such an incredible story. So I had to talk about it, because I think, like, whoever hasn't seen it, you're missing something. Go and see it, because it does tell you, the caliber of work that we have here, and the caliber of service that he wanted to bring to our island. That's amazing.
And
Yeah.
and we live up to Dr. Shetty's dream every day when we train another Caymanian in our hospital, when they go from the front of house, answering phones, to eventually become a phlebotomist, or when they go from being a porter to becoming a CSSD tech, right? Sterilization tech. That the only reason they're doing is because they came to Health City as an untrained young adult and showed that they actually wanted more and wanted to go down a certain path. We as an organization help them to get there. And it's through Dr. Shetty's vision and that's why he was able to place somebody like Dr. Benoit here, because he shares in that vision.
Right.
And we continue to make sure that we are finding pathways for young Caymanians to become eventually some of the doctors that we will have 10, 15, 20 years from here at Health City.
Right.
And when you look at our actual pediatric cardiac program that we've I know it's over 500, I don't know the exact number, of children that we've treated that otherwise wouldn't have been able to get these life-altering surgeries.
Right.
And through Dr. Benoit and his team, we've done over 500 free of cost to the children and their families through different charities,
Right.
like Samaritan's Purse. That's Billy Graham,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
That works directly with our organization to make it happen. There are many other charities as well. And that's why, as I mentioned, we have Dr. Benoit, who is here with us, who obviously is one of the top cardiothoracic surgeons, but is the clinical director, is the leader, and we're following in those footsteps and making sure we're achieving as much of Dr. Debbie Shetty's dream as possible.
Absolutely. And I absolutely love that, because I think that's another thing that I saw, with Dr. Shetty and Surgeon's Cut is the kind of community of people that he surrounds himself with. And he wants to, kind of breathe that into people so that it continues, right? Because he can't do it by himself. And, to have as many surgeons that are, performing at that level is so important. Today I was talking to somebody who said they worked for this politician for 20 years. And I said, yeah, you know what, let it go. It's like, come on, if you're not preparing somebody to take over, if you're not preparing people to do what you do, or have what you have, or know what you know, then what are you really doing? If you're just kind of doing that yourself, yay, but what about what comes after you? Because there will be a time when you have to sit down, and I want it to be in good hands. And I always say that, should then actually be for our local people too, to build, and as Doug said, as soon as you walk through the door, from the reception area all the way to when you're being discharged, it is this continuity of service. And I love that. So go and watch A Surgeon's Cut on Netflix. Do yourself a favor this evening. You'll be happy for that for sure. Okay. Yeah. No, that was my little plug there. I loved it.
And
Yeah.
Dr. Benoit, I don't know if you wanted to add to that, because I saw you leaning into the mic in regards to Dr. Shetty's vision and what we're doing here. Just knowing that Dr. Benoit pushes for it every day for us to make sure that we have pathways for Caymanians in the facility,
Yeah.
as well as, you know, to do as much as possible from a humanitarian perspective as well.
Absolutely.
I mean, you can talk, Shmari.
Okay. Yeah. So,
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So I mean,
It's so important.
what also, Dr. Like, I'm just thinking about Dr. Shetty, and once I was speaking to him, and he mentioned that because I actually had to travel to the facility. I think you might have been there, but obviously I didn't. You already came out, and they flew me over there. Said there's no way you're going to be able to do a job of marketing, PR, communications, business development unless you see what a Dr. Shetty facility
Right.
looks like, a Health City facility looks like. So flew over there,
Where?
Yeah.
Where was it again?
Bangalore,
Okay.
right?
All right.
And you know, I stayed only 2 days, so it took me longer flying,
Right.
Wow.
longer to get
About
here than
3
to
or 4 days to
actually,
fly.
right? To
Yeah.
actually, but it was an
Wow.
eventful 2 days. And when he was speaking to me, one thing he pointed out to me, and this just shows you the heart of Dr. Shetty. He was like, I noticed as well. I just said, is it that your female population is a lot more than the male population in India? And he's like, well, why are you asking that? I was like, because I just noticed that there are like a lot of females in the facility. And then he explained to me, he said, Shmari, he's like, if I pay a man $10, how much do you think goes home to the family? So what do you mean? He's like, of the $10, how much do you think he uses as his own personal disposable income? And how much you think goes to the family? And I said, maybe like 7, 8. And he's like, no, it's really like 3 or 4.
Okay.
Right? So I was like,
Wow.
okay.
Okay.
And then he says, but now if I have a female who is my employee and she gets $10, how much do you think goes home to the family? And I was like, I guess 8 or 9. He's like, no, 10.
10.
Right? So he said,
10.
when I
Definitely
give,
10.
right? So I noticed that in the non-medical areas, they were like mostly, if not all, female. And he said, the way I'm going to build the nation of India is through the
It's through
females that will
women.
make sure that the kids are fed, that they have the best education. And guess what? She'll take care of her husband too.
Yeah, she
Right?
will. She will.
So
yeah,
that just then sunk into me that even at that level,
a lot
Dr.
of
Shetty
thought has
was
been put
thinking
into that.
about how to bring a nation up as large as India. And he also has that thinking mentality for the Cayman Islands and the fact that we will run out of medical professionals very shortly in the Western Hemisphere, because as India's middle class grows, then you're going to have less surgeons and physicians and nurses that will also leave. And that's why he wants to build capacity, not only in the Cayman Islands, but of course in the Cayman Islands, but the Caribbean as well.
And he is doing it. Wow. Yes. I tell you what, that is amazing. Surgeon's Cut, you see that, you will see how he feels about his mother. You'll see all of that good stuff.
Thank you. Chip. Yeah, I'm making a salad.
No salad dressing.
Yeah.
Thank you all so much for joining me this afternoon. This is Medical Mondays. It was brought to you by Health City. We were talking to Shmari Scott, who's the Chief Business Officer, Dr. Benoit, who's just amazing, everything, and Doug Dodds, who you know as Dr. Doug on another station, who was a past patient. Thank you guys so much. I appreciate that. And Doug, glad you're still kicking. Thank you all so much for joining me. We will talk again tomorrow. Don't forget.
Tomorrow I can take a picture. Can I take a picture with